I looked up Europe's fertility rate last week. 1.38 children per woman. That's the official number, Eurostat, 2023. Replacement level is 2.1. So, we're almost one full child below what a society needs to sustain itself. South Korea, 0.72. Japan, 1.3. Singapore, 1.1. Different countries, different cultures. Same question everywhere. Why are people not having kids anymore? And yeah, we all know the usual answers. The economy, careers, the cost of raising a child. All true. But I think something's missing from this conversation. Something people don't talk about, because it sounds too superficial to matter. The beauty industry. Wait, before you click away, let me explain. Because the connection is stranger than you think. The beauty industry sells creams, procedures, filters, Instagram faces. That's what you see. But what does it actually sell? Constant evaluation. I realized this after reading a marketing report a while ago. I don't remember the exact source, but the message stuck with me. We don't sell products. We sell self-improvement rituals, which is corporate language for, we sell the idea that you should constantly look at yourself, how you look, how you're perceived, how you compare. Always. Take care of yourself. You deserve it. This is for you. It sounds soft, even kind, but the effect is this. You slowly turn yourself into a project. You become the CEO of your own personal brand. And brands never stop optimizing. So I started wondering, if this becomes the way people see themselves, what happens to relationships? Let me try a simple thought experiment. 40 years ago, when two people met, the question was usually something like, do we fit? Can we build something stable together? That question hasn't disappeared, but it's no longer the first one. Now, something else shows up earlier in the process. How do I look next to you? What do my friends think if I'm with you? Could I do better? I'm not saying people suddenly became shallow. I'm saying they're constantly being evaluated. By Instagram, by dating apps, by algorithms that keep showing them other options. And after a while, people learn to evaluate themselves the same way. Dating slowly becomes more about presentation than about discovery. Relationships are easier to start. One swipe, one message, one date, but they're harder to stabilize. Because somewhere in the background, there's always that quiet thought, there might be something better out there. And that's where things start to shift. Why stability gets delayed. Here's something the beauty industry does not do. It doesn't kill romance. People still meet. They still date. They still feel attraction. What it does is different. It raises the perceived cost of settling down. When social value is strongly tied to how you look, to constant optimization, to glow-ups and upgrades, commitment starts to feel risky. Not always consciously, but the question shows up anyway. If I commit now, am I giving something up? Am I losing options? Am I losing momentum? And when the answer isn't clear, people wait. Later becomes the default position, not because they don't want stability, but because they don't want regret. And the data reflects this shift. In Europe, people are having their first child later than ever before, around 30 years old on average now. A few decades ago, it was significantly earlier. Marriage is happening later too. This isn't just about money. Something deeper is changing. But we're not done yet. When kids enter the equation. Now let's talk about kids. Having a child changes real things. Your body, your time, your freedom, your visibility in the world. In a culture where value is tied to how you look, how much control you have over your life, and how much attention you receive, a child quietly becomes a social cost. Temporary, yes, but visible. Not because people don't love children, but because the question shifts to this. Can I become a parent and still remain who I am? What do I lose if I do this now? And in many large cities, the unspoken answer feels like, you lose status, you lose control, you lose validation. I once read a piece by a woman living in San Francisco. She said something that stuck with me. Having a kid feels like pausing your life. Not ending it, just putting it on hold. Like your life is a show, and the child is a commercial break. I don't know if that's sad, but it's real for a lot of people. Cities versus small communities. This doesn't play out the same way everywhere. In smaller communities, villages, quieter towns, children still add status. Parents have a clear role. Their place in the community is understood. Your body isn't your main social currency. And no one is comparing you to influencers on Instagram, because that's not how value works there. But in large cities, especially digitally connected ones, Things shift. Status becomes fluid. Comparison becomes constant. Value comes from performance, from image, from visibility. And in that environment, a child complicates your social position. Temporarily, yes, but noticeably. Demographic data reflects this pattern across many countries. Urban areas consistently have lower fertility rates than rural ones. The difference isn't massive, but it's remarkably consistent. France, Japan, most developed societies, the bigger the city, the fewer the children. And the beauty industry isn't the main cause here, but it is a symptom of the same thing, a culture where personal image has become a form of social currency. So what do we actually learn from all this? The beauty industry doesn't decide how many children are born. It doesn't control people's lives. And it's not some hidden conspiracy. What it does is much subtler. It's part of a larger system that changes what we value, what feels expensive, what feels risky. It shifts the moment when people feel like they can afford to settle down. I want to be very clear here. There are no studies proving that the beauty industry directly causes declining birth rates. Falling fertility is multifactorial: housing, jobs, education, cost of living, cultural change. What I'm offering is an interpretation, not a scientific conclusion. But here's the pattern. When a society places extreme value on appearance and constant self-optimization, transitions that require temporary sacrifice become harder to make. And having children requires exactly that: temporary loss of control, temporary loss of visibility. Europe sits at 1.38 children per woman, below replacement, and the trend isn't moving up. So if this is the direction we're heading in, what do we do with it? Let me know what you think. I'm genuinely curious.